Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to check out Diced Tomatoes. This is a game for 2 to 4 players and takes about 15 to 30 minutes to play. It's appropriate for kids, although there are some small pieces, so just be careful. I think the recommended age was 12 and up, but you can get away with 8 plus depending on your kids. So this game is actually available on the Game Crafter right now. I believe it's anywhere between $25–30 the last time I checked. Although the developer mentioned a possible Kickstarter/crowdfunding project down the line. So as a result, everything that you're about to see here is subject to change. For example, the rules. The rules have actually changed since I last looked at it and when I just looked at it now. Before I got the game in the mail, I was browsing the PDF rulebook and I was like, okay, I get the idea. And I looked at this rulebook and I'm like, okay, this is new. So basically, and even the back of the box has conflicting information. The back of the box has 60 dice, 24 tomatoes, 8 hearts, 1 rulebook. Whereas what's in the box, 44 red dice, 4 black dice, 12 tomatoes, 4 red hearts, 4 player mats. So it's different. Components were added and some were taken away. Basically, there's less dice, there's the addition to the player mat, there's less hearts. The developer decided to use a heart and a heart track as opposed to using multiple heart tokens. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. What are you doing in this game? Well, you're going to be trying to basically dice tomatoes in order to score points. These are your tomato tokens. Each player starts with 3. 1 is locked down at the beginning of the game, and then you flip it over at the beginning of round 2, when everyone has taken 1 turn. Each player starts with 11 of these red dice and 1 of these rotten black dice. And you also get a heart to put on your 1 heart track here. There's a heart track here, you put it on the 1. And basically, these hearts are gratitude. You earn gratitude when you help another player dice their tomato. And the amount of gratitude you receive, or the amount of hearts that you receive, depends on the value. So if we take a look at the card here, if I help an opponent dice a tomato that has a 1 or 2 on it, then I get 1 heart. If I help him dice a tomato that's a 5 or 6, then he gets 3, and I move it up 3 on the track, and so on. And you can also spend this gratitude throughout your turn to do various things. You can spend 2 hearts to change the value of a die you rolled by 1. You can also spend 3 hearts to clear a low-scoring tomato, so you can just clear all the dice from that. Here's your score track over here. As you dice tomatoes, you're going to be taking the die that's on the token itself and moving it over to the score track like this. When you get to 4, let's say I have this. When I get to 4, you take 1 away. And when you get to 5, you take another 1 away. And then when you get to 6, it's game over. The game also ends when you go to roll dice and you don't have any there in your pool. Okay, so like I said, getting ahead of myself, and I'm just going to give you an overview because the rules, again, are subject to change here based on what I've seen so far. So basically, to set up the game, you've got a player mat, the heart goes on the 1, you've got 3 tokens in front of you, 11 red dice, 1 rotten dice, okay. So on your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to take 3 dice, less if you have less than that, and you're going to roll them. And with these dice, let's say 5, 5, 5. Let's just say it was like a 1 and a 4, whatever. So you can place these dice on your empty, like again, these are locked down for the first round, so you can't put any dice there. However, you can put them on your tomato, you can put them on your opponent's tomatoes, and so on. That was a 4. And so on. As the game goes on, you're going to be like, okay, so I have no more places to put these dice. Where am I going to put them? Well, that's where you start to learn about vines. Vines are basically a column of dice. And when, again, let's just say that this player on a future turn rolled their dice, and they can assign them. He might put a 5 here, and he's like, okay, what am I going to do with these? Well, you can start adding to existing vines. So I might put a 3 here and a 3 here to start that. When your vine reaches 4, that's when you score it. The 3 dice, let's say that this is a completed vine, the 3 dice that are here go back into your pool, and the die that's on your token, again, goes into your score track on your player card. So you want to try and get this die to be high if you can help it. The other values of the dice on the vine don't seem to matter. So this 1, 6, 5, 6, even though these are high numbers, you're going to be scoring this 1, which is pretty crappy. So that might be where you might want to spend some hearts to clear a tomato of all of its dice so that you can get a better value on it and then score something higher possibly down the line. So yeah, that's the gist of it. You roll dice, you assign it to your tomato tokens or your opponent's tomato tokens, or again above or below to create vines. If you get 4 dice on a vine, then it scores on that turn. Okay, here's a quick look at the turn order. Again, you're going to flip over the face down. I'm going to just assume that it's past round 2 at that point. You flip over the face down tomato on the second round only. On step 2 on your turn, you may spend 3 hearts to clear one of your tomatoes. You can then roll 3 dice like I showed you. You can roll 3 dice or less. You may spend 2 hearts to change dice value by 1 point up or down after you do that. So if I rolled, say, a 3, 4, and 5, and I wanted a 6 real bad, I could spend 2 of my hearts on this track over here to change this to a 6, and then I can assign it to maybe something like that. And I'm going to try and score that as quickly as possible so that I can get my 6 moved over here. You place individual dice either on an empty tomato or add to a vine, which I already said. Any dice for which you cannot find a place to add must be passed to the next player. So for whatever reason, if you can't add dice to anything, you're going to pass that dice off to the next player. That may come into play when these tokens start going away toward the end of the game. All players collect any dice tomatoes from their play area. So again, if I help my opponent score something, like let's say this is a 2, and I could even roll my rotten die and assign it to that, and they have to keep that into their bushel after they score this. But yeah, if I help them complete this, they're going to score it even though it's my turn. Collect gratitude points for completing other players' tomatoes, and your turn. And that is the gist of it. The game ends, like I said, when a player has gotten 6 tomatoes scored, or when they go to roll and there's no dice left in their pool. And again, that was just a general overview. Points at the end of the game are based on a number of things, based on the scores listed on the die faces on your score track. If you've completed a 6 tomato, you add 3 points. You also subtract points for each rotten die in your possession, and the person with the highest point wins. All right, so there you go, folks. That was a quick look at Diced Tomatoes. I'll put a link to the Game Crafter store page in the link below. Keep in the back of your mind that, again, there may be some crowdfunding down the line. So if you don't like, say, the quality of these components, and I just dropped a heart, but if you don't like the quality of these components, or it looks a little weird right now, and it just doesn't look right, I don't know if this is what you're going to get in the Game Crafter copy, should you buy one. I'm going to assume it is, but it may not be. Again, everything's subject to change. But if you don't like what you see here, you could wait possibly till this crowdfunding process, assuming it takes place, and then chip in then to help support the game. All right, this is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.